This is the ninth book in the series, and for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I write techno thrillers along with my co-author Charles Breakfield, and that's because I have too many years in technology, 21 years in technology, so we have fun with it. But our books are very interesting from the perspective of you can read them as a series with over 140 rich characters in the series, or you can read them as individuals and they're just fine. You will not be lost. But it is a little richer when you read them all. So I'm just going to go through the prologue just because I don't want to bore you to death, but it's a very exciting book. It really is. And it's today's technology, how it affects you, good guys, bad guys, playing cyber warp. You ready? Yeah. This is called Prologue, Tracking Digital Betrayal. This is from 2 years ago. Beaten as he was, he could hardly stand. Trembling fear was the only reason he didn't collapse in front of them. It was supposed to be a simple drop-off routine like the others. Only this wasn't like the others. It was a trap, and he had walked into it only thinking about where to get his adult male entertainment that evening. It was evening now, but entertainment wasn't at the top of his list at this point. Only surviving. His captor snarled. "You were supposed to bring the package straight here, unopened. Did you think we wouldn't notice the Western dog?" The broody man stalked around the prisoner once, then hollered, "Beat him again. I want to see him on his hands and knees, whimpering, begging. His betrayal will earn everything we can deliver." Several heavy, flexible rubber hoses rained down on his shoulders, back, and arms, which did indeed force him to his knees. The blows were designed to cause heavy bruising, swelling, and bleeding just under the skin, but not break any bones. The prisoner felt his strength dissolving under the pummeling. Finally, through his sobs, he cried, "I was phoned to pick up this package and deliver it here. Once delivered, I would get a deposit into my account just like the other times. Someone must have gotten there ahead of me and tried to help themselves. I swear that's the truth." The captor demanded. "You think we believe you? How could that be possible when no money was missing?" The prisoner was bewildered and sobbed as he asked, "What do you mean? If no money is missing, then why?" The new confident male voice of authority outside the circle of punishment answered, "Because of the tracking device inside the package. You are all under arrest. Put down your guns, raise your hands over your heads. We are the..." The man never finished the sentence. In a short burst of automatic weapon cut across his path. The bullets caught him just below his waistline, filling the area around his body with blood rain. Gunfire then erupted from both sides. Men dropped to the ground and took cover behind the makeshift shield of those already dead. The body armor of the U.S. security troops kept most of them from being killed outright, while the cruel captors weren't so lucky. The gunfire ceased almost as quickly as it had begun. One of the U.S. security troopers, after checking on the fallen team members, went to see what the captive's status was. As he turned the captive over, it was obvious he'd been caught by a stray bullet in the firefight and would never be able to answer any questions. The trooper, in a fit of disgust, bitterly remarked, "Hell, after all that monitoring and tracking of this weasel, we had to get him killed before we could find out who hired him? Bastard, running guns into my country to outfit a bunch of Muslim extremists. The only good news is that we won't have to feed and clothe him while he awaits trial." A team member hollered, "Rogers, we're missing 2 insurgents. Looks like they slipped away during the firefight." Rogers quickly shouted, "All right, men, let's pursue and trap them between the secondary line and us. Watch where you fire, since we have our people on the other side. Move out." Rogers continued, "Carl, you and Lee maintain a perimeter here in case they double back. Come on, people. With even 2 of these guys loose, they can get a foothold to rebuild." Carl finished dressing the wounds of a downed team member and stood up to check on the fallen suspects. Lee and Carl checked each body for some type of identity papers. After checking the last body, Carl looked at Lee and spit before he said, "Here they are, Afghan troops who were brought to the U.S. for intensive counterinsurgents training by our Army Special Forces. They came in, earned some trust, and then simply vanished. They had planned this all along. Suck it up to the U.S. military in Afghanistan, plead for better training to protect themselves from the extremists and insurgents in their country. And all the while it was a ruse to get their military on our soil. Might have worked too if we hadn't intercepted their cell phone calls. They were clumsy, and we got a lucky break, digitally tracking them." Lee shook his head and asked, "What? I don't know how it is they get all those weapons after leaving the Army compound. There were no weapons missing from the base, so someone must have smuggled them in, anticipating this kind of scenario. It always seems like the bad guys have way more friends than we do." Carl nodded his head but offered no response. Lee and Carl both turned their heads in the direction of the distant gunfire. They both hoped it meant the end or capture of the missing insurgents, but they couldn't be sure.